Is it light enough?
Yeah, I think so. Do you think we're? Yeah. Oh, it got
Oh,
even
okay.
brighter. I think it's a little bit better. It's a little bit more contrasty. You know,
Yeah, nice word.
contrasty.
Contrasty.
Yeah, it's not so like pow
We
in your
used
face.
POW last week. We can't use POW again this week.
I feel like we're just not so washed out. My hat might be a little dark for my face, but that's okay. People don't care. So we're rolling and recording and we're live.
Awesome.
So
Well,
we're
welcome to
ready.
the Tessa Van Wade Show. Welcome back. It's been a while.
Hey.
It's been since last week. What happened?
Hey, you and I are very red, white, and blue today. We don't plan this.
Should I take it off?
No, I like it. It's very coordinated.
Oh,
it's cool.
You know, we always get one person on and then they disappear like within seconds. So we're clearly not good enough to keep them on.
No, I at least could say that I clicked on the link. It's probably one of your friends.
I know, probably. It's probably one.
This is just for us anyway.
I know. Who cares?
And whatever. Jerks. So I'm gonna come out hot.
Wait. Can we talk about the fact that I have bangs for the first time?
Oh yeah, you look really cute, by the way.
Oh, thanks, babe.
I like them. Bangs, my understanding, because I've never cut bangs because I've never had really long hair.
Okay.
But I understand it can be pretty like risky.
Yeah, because most people that cut their bangs immediately regret it.
Right. And then it's like, okay, now I have another year to grow this out.
Well, because the lucky part is that I do have hair that grows really fast. And so I've cut bangs before. And the one thing is though I have I have curly hair. And so I'm not sure how it's going to look when I do it curly.
Oh, I think it's going to look so cute. I love your curly hair. And I think it's going to be like in front of your forehead. It's going to be cool.
It might be like a little bit of it might be, I don't know. We'll just see.
So I'll just my bangs, if I had bangs, they wouldn't exist because the area on your head where your bangs grow out of, I no longer grow hair there. That's a thing of the past.
I'm sorry, babe.
Yeah, it's just one of those things.
It's funny because I just talked to one of my clients doesn't have hair anymore. My brother started going bald pretty quickly. I'm sure he'd love for me to talk about that.
Totally.
And one other brother did not, but one brother did. And then, it really is a sad thing. Yet I don't feel that bad for you guys because I kid you not, I literally just had somebody talk to me about it today. They were talking about how it just is unfortunate that like we still as a society kind of look at, we've talked about this before, but you get to age so like you're just more rugged and whatever.
You're talking about men in general.
Well, and you.
Yeah. Well,
you are a man.
Yeah, I am.
So.
And I'm definitely aging ruggedly. I definitely look like I've been through the ringer.
Your problem is you feel like you look like you're 12, but then with like
wrinkles. The thing is about aging, and we don't have to talk about this for too long, but what are we going to do? Be sexy forever? At some point you got to accept the fact that you're going to get old. You're going to get ugly. Like, have you ever seen a 120-year-old person?
No.
They look...
Have you seen a 120-year-old person?
Yeah, look it up. There's a 120-year-old person. They look like they're 120 years old. They're just like, you're old.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I hope that I can just, I feel like I'm clinging to the last like few years of looking like a young adult. Even though I'm not a young adult, I'm a middle-aged adult.
I'm just saying that it's probably going to be a lot easier for you to age than it is for me. I don't think mentally, like I'm totally, the other day I walked in or last night I was talking to somebody and I'm like, oh no, I'm old. I don't need to worry about that. And she goes, you're not old. And I was like,
was this a younger person?
It's okay. She was 37.
So she was
42.
Younger. Yeah. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. Let's try.
It's cool.
Let's try.
I kind of like being in my 40s. It's
I
okay.
yeah, me too. I think that turning 40 was way easier than turning 30.
Yeah.
In fact, I had a hard time at 23.
I think that depends on where you are in life. Like when I turned 30, I was going nowhere. Like financially, career wise.
I'm like, I was with you.
No,
babe.
I was in a funk when I was in my 30s, and I was like, what am I doing? So now it's like, well, I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going. I know who I am. I like who I am. And we'll see if that stays. It could change very quickly.
Yeah.
So that was a good little discussion about your bangs.
Oh.
But what I wanted to talk about
Yeah, okay.
was the fact that this last week in Kona, where we live, was the championship Ironman race.
I'm a little bit concerned about him talking about this because there are definitely sides of this. There are people who really are advocates for it, and there are people who are really not.
Well, this year, normally I am very much supportive of Ironman. It's a very neat.
You are?
Well, we've gone down to the finish line and like watch people cross the finish line, and we've gone down to Elite Drive, which is the running course, and we've cheered people on.
Sure.
And it's a really neat thing, especially when you see people that are like average people that are doing this. It's 140 miles altogether.
Yeah, it's literally insane.
It's a full marathon, 26 miles. It's a 4-mile swim, so that's 30 miles, and it's a 110-mile bike ride.
It's
insane.
Bizarre. It's bizarre to me that people want to do this. You guys, it's funny because I literally am using this my YouTube channel, which I have people on there because I have several workout videos. But it's funny because that kind of stuff I am not.
It's an extreme.
I'm just not an advocate of it because I definitely am a longevity trainer. I'm all about teaching people how to take care of the body and make the body work for you forever.
What I wanted to talk about was not necessarily the sport.
Okay.
It's the event.
Okay.
Because this year, normally it's one day. It's on a Saturday, and it basically shuts down the whole town.
Right.
Because the course is going through our town. So we can't do anything. So we just basically stay home. Normally, that's fine. It's on a Saturday. We get groceries, rent some movies, whatever. This year, because of COVID, they had more qualifiers, so they didn't have the race for the last 2 years. So this is the first time since 2019, and the amount of contestants were double.
Right.
So they split it up into 2 days, and they made one of the days a Thursday, which is a work day. And I know we are small business owners. I'm also an employee. We had to shut down my job site. We had to shut down the gym. You and I made $0 on that day.
Right.
And it was frustrating because we need to work. And everybody I know here needs to work. And it's hard because it's this really cool event where it like shows the human spirit, you know?
Yeah.
And there's all these amazing stories that come out of it. Forget the guys who win. Like, big deal. You win all the races, right? You're good. Whatever.
Okay.
It's the people that come in at like 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
That are like literally dying.
Yes.
And they achieve this amazing feat.
Right.
Right. And that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I don't want to come across like I'm just poo-pooing the event. The problem I have is that I don't remember being able to vote whether we could shut down the town on a work day.
Nobody asked.
You know?
Nobody asked the community. And I think that's the problem.
This community only has about 45,000 people in it.
Right.
And like the town doubles in size. So you can't go anywhere. They shut down a lot of the streets, not even on the event day. So it's like a pain for like 2 weeks straight.
Yeah.
Normally it's kind of a pain anyway, but this year was like crazy. Right. And if all that wasn't bad enough, so I'm already like angry when I'm driving, like, and but then you throw in the fact that these people are bicyclists, and bicyclists have a reputation for being not very careful on the roadways.
Okay.
They
Yep.
just kind of like go in front of cars
Uh-huh.
and, whatever.
Yep.
And it's like maddening because I feel like the people that are here for this event, they think that this town was built for them so that they could have this event. Like, well,
Right.
I'm here, I can do whatever I want.
Right.
Meanwhile, there's people that live here that like have to live their lives.
Right.
Like our schools shut down for fall break during Ironman week.
Yep.
And it's not a coincidence. It's because it's too hard to get the kids to school. So anyway, that's what I've been dealing with for the past 2 weeks. And it's finally done.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Uh-oh. I knew there was a thing.
So there's a road. It's Ali'i Drive. It's like the main road along the ocean. And the other day you were in the car with me and they shut it down. Like it says road closed.
Oh.
But they closed the road like 100 yards past the stoplight.
Okay.
Right? Instead of closing it at the stoplight and saying like detour,
right,
they close it. So by the time you see that the road is closed, you're already on the road. And now you have to pull into the hotel parking lot and do like this U-turn. And there's like 10 billion people having to do this U-turn.
Yeah.
And I decided that I was going to take it upon myself to let this volunteer know.
Volunteer.
How wrong it was.
Volunteer that can't do anything about it.
How
and
wrong
the poor
it was.
guy is standing there going, yeah, thank you. Thank you, sir.
He thanked me for yelling at him.
You.
I didn't yell at him. I'm courteous.
I thought he was too nice to you, actually.
I pulled up and I was like, look, if you guys are going to close this road down, you need to put a sign up there at the stoplight so that we can make a decision to turn before we commit. This is ridiculous. And he's like, well, we can't shut it down because the hotel and the.
He didn't say it like that.
That's how I heard it.
He was like, no, he was
That's
like super nice about it. He goes, oh, I'm sorry, dude. We can't do that because of blah, blah, blah. And then Ben's like, no, I'm talking about putting a sign up there.
Yeah. Fine. Close the road. Close the road here. Allow people to drive in, but put a freaking sign on the corner. Anyway, everybody's leaving, which is good.
Everybody's leaving.
And it's starting to quiet down.
Yes.
But
we definitely
the reason I wanted to bring that up.
Okay.
I felt like it was my responsibility to tell that volunteer because he might know somebody who he can now tell, like, hey, here's a suggestion. Put a sign up there.
Nope. He was way too young. There's no way that he was going to actually tell anybody.
Here's my other beef.
What other beef?
They make tens of millions of dollars and their workforce are volunteers.
Yep. Everybody's a volunteer.
So the problem this year is normally it's like, it's cool. Like you volunteer for the event. It's on a Saturday, but this time it was on a Thursday. So we couldn't work. And then people volunteer for free.
Right.
And they can't work. Meanwhile, Ironman is making millions and millions of profit and not paying workers. Like it would be really cool if they were like, we're going to come into your community and for several days, we're going to pay people to work for us.
No, it's not that kind of business. And the people,
what's bothers me is it's this amazing event, like I said, that shows what humans are capable of. But it's just the few inconsiderate people that ruin the whole thing. And isn't that the way life is?
Yes. It's just like when you were in school and like it's always the person who does the things that then it just ruins it for everybody.
The rules are made for the very few people that need them.
Right.
Like most of us just follow the
common sense
rules of nature.
Yeah.
Right. Do the right thing. But we have to have these rules because of these morons. And that's where we're at.
Well, it is funny because I definitely see there are definitely two, just like everything else. It's funny because hold on. I literally just wrote on my Instagram. Let's see, where was it? Yesterday. And I wrote, people will always disagree. Life is not about attacking our differences. It's about honoring each other within them.
Oh, that's so hard though, because a lot of time the differences are stupid. Like, let me give you an example.
Okay.
Okay. Today, I had a guy who works for me. I'm in charge of him. I've done nothing but amazing things for this person.
Okay.
I've advocated for him to get raises. I've given him I've given him good jobs that I think he would be really good at to like teach him and help him grow in this career.
Yeah.
And like today he didn't like something. So all of a sudden he's just a jerk. And I'm like, no.
Right.
I've been nothing but good to you. Mm-hmm. And I deserve a little more respect than just, well, I don't want to do this. You know?
Yeah.
Well, you know what you're going to do now? You're never going to stop shoveling.
Ben.
Until you quit.
Here's the thing.
He's going to dig the deepest hole.
No.
On this island.
Stop it. Stop. Enough.
Well, my point is, let me finish my point.
Okay.
I work really hard at being a good boss, at doing good things for people.
Correct.
Bringing them things.
I agree.
Telling them how much I appreciate it. It's this one guy, and not him in particular, but there's always one that makes people like me say, you know what? I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be a jerk.
You don't want to be that person that forces, that forces your hand, that forces somebody's hand to, okay, so you're now going to be the one person that forces me to put a rule so that you can't. Yeah. Everybody else common sense, but now you're going to force me to put a procedure in that puts a rule in that makes sure that you can do this.
Like, look, don't make me be a jerk.
Right.
Just because you're a jerk. Like I'm being a good guy. And now you're kind of forcing me to be a jerk.
Yeah.
The problem is that we have a good thing going.
But you have a tendency to be extremely negative.
No, not in this scenario.
Okay.
I'm actually pretty good at work. And in fact,
No, I agree. At work, you would definitely be much more positive.
I didn't give him any energy back because that feeds the monster, right? I gave him nothing back. I just gave him like what I would say in HR, like, oh, make sure you do this and this and this. Just list off the protocol.
Yeah.
And he probably didn't like that because I didn't give him anything back. But the reason I didn't do that is because I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he was probably just heated.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you have those moments where you just get heated and you just get sad or you just get bothered or upset or you just feel like life is unfair. People have those moments and we jump on people so quickly when they have those moments.
But I've never gotten heated at my boss because I'm smart enough to shut my fat mouth when I need to.
I know.
But the difference is going to be what happens tomorrow.
Yeah.
If tomorrow he shows up on time and puts his head down and gets to work, everything will be cool. But
you are on a soapbox tonight.
Sometimes you just got to be up there.
I don't. Well,
no, I'm just talking about how like the few can ruin it for the
that's
rest
right.
Of everybody.
Well, like one of my clients was driving in from Waikoloa the other day, and she never drives.
Waikoloa is a town about 45 minutes from
correct, Kona. And she never ever drives in. She always usually does Zoom with me on my groups, my training groups. And she decided to do it because she had promised somebody that she was going to make them like really good, healthy cookies.
Oh, okay.
I know that sounds funny, but it is.
No, she makes delicious.
She makes delicious treats that are they're healthy.
They're not. They're good for what they are. No, and
I think they're delicious.
A lot of them are really good, but I can tell they're sweetened with like monk fruit or stevia.
Yeah.
I can taste the difference.
Well, so she had offered to make somebody some of that. And so she brought him in, but on her way, she came in and she was visibly shaking. Like she was visibly bothered.
Like angry?
No, like visibly like that drive, and so she started telling us the story, and she was behind a big semi truck. And then there was a big group of bikers that were training because this was on Monday before Ironman, which would be on Thursday and Saturday.
Right.
So they were all training. And so she like, it was interesting because she came in and she was just like, yeah, the bikers decided to all of a sudden, they just decided that they were going to cut out in front of the semi truck. And that semi truck had to slam on his brakes. And then she was right behind him. So she had to slam on her brakes. So the person behind her actually had to, you know how when you slam on the brakes and then the person behind you has to come
Yeah,
out
they don't have
to the
time to
side.
brake, so they had to go around.
Yeah. So she had that happen. So she's obviously like upset about it and everything. And what's funny is she's somebody who stays away from all of that usually. So I'm not sure what made her come out on this week. And I think she probably second guessed it as soon as that happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
yeah, it's like, what are you thinking? You're on a bike.
You're on a bike.
It's a semi truck. What? And this is what I'm talking about bicyclists. Like,
Yeah.
they don't even have mirrors. They don't like look behind them. They just go in the road.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they'll slow down for me because I'm an Iron Man. A couple of years ago, 3-4 years ago, a guy was killed.
Yeah.
Doing training.
Yeah.
Before the race because he was doing he pulled out in front of somebody. This year, another contestant, a female contestant, was hit by a car. Mm-hmm. She didn't get majorly hurt, but she had to bow out of the race. She was like in a collar, your typical thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, you could have avoided that.
Oh, geez, babe. I'm not sure if I totally 100% agree with you, but it's funny because I'll listen to you.
I'm just saying that like our town is not really conducive for this many people.
That's partially what it is that our town is not, it doesn't have big walkways and sidewalks. It's not, it's not like that.
Anyway, I didn't mean to talk this long about the race, but I was mostly trying to get us to like start a conversation about, how we could have it better in our society.
Oh, I'm like, we could have it better. Like, what can we have better?
If we just got rid of the bad apples.
Oh, that's funny. I can't wait to get our neighbors on this. I want to try and get our neighbors, Chris and David, on here. They're like my favorite people in the world. And I think it would be really funny because I think that I've never experienced having neighbors that are so fun and so like our best friends. I've never experienced this. You always see it on shows where like you've got the neighbor next door that like comes.
And they always just walk in.
Yeah, they always just walk in, or they go and they have dinner.
In this case, we always walk into their house.
Yeah, we totally do. And like they always go and have dinner together. They like, they're like, you just see that in neighborhoods. And for the longest time, we didn't have that. I mean, we've known our neighbors in the past. We had a really cool neighbor in Ventura, Sue, and everything, but we didn't spend a ton of time with her or anything. We just knew her and took care of each other, in our stuff. But with Chris and David, it's totally different. We're like, we go over to their house all the time. Our daughter is always house sitting for them. We love their dog. We love them like they're our family. And it's the coolest thing. And I kind of wish that everybody would have that.
Yeah. And
it's funny because I think it would be really a cool conversation to have about neighbors.
Well, neighbors are tough because you don't get to choose your neighbors.
Right. It's like siblings.
So it's a real crapshoot.
It's right. Like, don't you always look at like your siblings? You don't have a choice of who your siblings are.
Well, and not just that. Usually like the people that you hang out with, your friends, don't live next to you. So they don't get to hear all the intimate stuff of your life.
Right.
When you're fighting or when your dogs are barking. And so all those things just create tension between neighbors a lot of times because people live differently.
Yeah.
So I think it is pretty rare.
Well, like Chris's way of decorating, he decorates like he said the other day, he said he decorates like a grandma, but it's so funny because you walk into his house and it's super cozy. It's super warm. Like
it's actually really cool because they have AC. I know where you're going with this though. Sorry.
So it's like super comforting. It's like, but it's anyway, it's just, and then David David's like the guy who goes out and like wants to chop everything down and create new stuff and like talk about drills and, things like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just think it would be really fun to have Chris and David like on, and we could talk about what it's like to
I don't know if I want to give
neighbors.
them like a hot mic on how we live.
Why? What do
I
they
don't
think?
know.
What do they know about how we live that we don't know?
They hear our entire household all day. Like we don't have windows, so
Yeah,
we live in a glass house.
we do live in a glass house.
So sorry,
Yes.
I was just going to change the subject.
Okay,
and
what were you going
move
to change
on
it to?
What you wanted to talk about today?
Well, first, hold on. I wanted to tell one more story. Is one of my clients, her daughters were taken to Disneyland this week with the grandparents.
Only the grandparents?
Only the grandparents.
Oh, that's interesting.
And they were taken to Disneyland. And my client and her husband paid for the kids and the grandparents to do the escort for one day throughout Disneyland for $5,000.
What?
It costs $5,000. And what you do is you get escorted. You get escorted through Disneyland. It costs $5,000. It's like basically like $1,000 for an hour. And you get escorted through Disneyland and you get to go through the back entrances of all of the rides.
So you get to get on the ride really quick.
Oh yeah, you get to go
$1,000 an hour.
You could go as on the rides as many times as you want, like the same ride over and over again. But you have an escort that does whatever you want. Like, what do you guys need? What can I get you? Blah blah blah.
There are other escorts that will do whatever you want, also, and they're not $5,000.
That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about Disneyland. So it was just crazy because she's telling me about her like kids going to Disneyland and doing this whole escort thing with the grandparents, and like they get escorted through Disneyland and they get to go on every ride as many times as they want. They get to she said a couple of different things of what they do, but I was like, what? That would be insane.
And here I am,
$5,000 for a day,
filling out the FAFSA form for our child to go to school next year.
That's what most people are doing.
And going,
come
how
on
can
now.
I come up with $5,000 to send my kid to college?
That is, everybody's doing that, Ben. Everybody's doing that, especially nowadays. I mean, look at our economy right now. It's nuts.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Okay, it's depressing.
Yeah.
Well, it was interesting because the only thing I thought of to talk about today, I was thinking about it yesterday on my way to work, and I was having a conversation with someone, and I've had many conversations with someone with different people about, I've heard the saying a lot where they go, and they'll say a word and they'll go, I just don't like it when people use that word. Okay. So there's a lot of different words like that. So there's deconstruction, where you're deconstructing religion.
I've never heard somebody say that. So can you explain why they wouldn't like that word?
I don't know why they don't like that word. I've actually heard I actually know two people that have said, I don't really like that word deconstruction. But then we talked about other words that people say that, you had a teacher who didn't I
had a teacher, my high school senior English teacher. He did not like the word enable.
Did he tell you why?
No. But pretty much from the moment he said that on, I've never used the word enable in any term paper I've ever written. Through college, through grad school.
Just because one teacher didn't like the word enable.
I think he explained it, and he had a real reason for it. It wasn't like a personal thing. I think that his reason for it was that it was often misused, or it was just too easy a word. Like he wanted us to come up with a better way to say what we were trying to say. And enable was one of them.
Huh.
So it's funny because I just never ever used that word for 6 years in post-secondary education.
Because one person told you not to use it.
I highly respected him. I thought he was a very smart man.
Huh. Okay, so we also thought there were other words. What did we come up with? There's
a lot of words I don't like. Lots. One of them is manifest.
Okay. Lots of people use manifest now.
I do not like the word manifest.
What do you not like about it?
It's not that I don't believe in Manifesting?
Okay.
You're making me say it a lot. That's the worst part about this.
Like you don't like the
I
sound of it?
I fully believe in the power of positive thought.
Okay.
And that you can create a positive environment for your life.
Okay.
Through positive.
Okay, but why don't you like the word manifest?
I think it's the people who use it.
Oh,
it's like the subgroup of people.
You keep getting down to people, and you're really aggressive towards people.
Look, I'm just gonna say it. Like,
what are you gonna say?
Typically the people that use the word manifest.
No, I know many people. I don't even know what you're gonna say right now, and like, I literally know a ton of people that use the word manifest, and they're fabulous people.
Sure, I'm not saying you can't use the word and be a good person.
Well, here's the thing. The reason why I even brought it up. Okay, so let's go into that before
Hold
we
on.
even.
Let me finish my thought.
About what?
It's a subgroup of people that typically use this word.
Correct.
And I think it's just cliche. That's all I got to say.
Okay.
Without going into this type of people group that I can't stand.
So one of the reasons why I think this podcast is super interesting is because you and I are so different. And yet we manage to have a very good relationship. And I'm not half the time I'm actually really surprised.
I think that's pretty common. I think
is it?
Opposites attract.
Oh man, but we are so opposite in the way we see things and stuff like that. I literally was one of the things you can't stand.
Did you literally have it?
I did.
Literally.
I did.
Okay. Well, then it's okay.
I had a whole conversation with myself on my way to work yesterday, which might be part of my problem is that I converse with God and myself all the time. But I had this conversation with myself because of this person who had said they didn't like a certain word. And in the conversation, I was like, I go, oh, okay. I was curious why they didn't like the word, and all of that. And I said, for me, I find it really funny. Language is an interesting thing.
Okay.
Language was made up by.
You find it funny that language is an interesting thing?
No. I find it funny that Ben, what are you doing? Are you what are
I'm literally trying to understand you.
Okay. So language is a really interesting thing. It was created a long time ago. It has changed dramatically over the years. It changes with fads. It changes with, they used to say "eth" behind everything.
"Eth"?
Cometh.
Oh yeah.
Thoueth.
I don't think they used thoueth.
Oh, whatever. I don't know.
Seeketh.
Okay. I'm sure you know all the words that they used "eth" on and what they didn't.
I probably do.
So anyway.
Language evolves.
Language changes. Language quickly, aggressively, and the thing that cracks me up is that we are so apt to be in conversation with someone and immediately have a judgment on a word.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I
guilty as charged.
And I find that really sad. And I'll tell you why. For me, number one, the fact is that when you go down to who a human being is, every word is going to appeal to someone's senses completely different. Manifest to me may not even be.
Yeah, there we go.
Ben, why are you rolling your eyes? Manifest to me it's gonna be a word that doesn't really maybe it is, and I'm not going to tell you what my opinion is on manifest because I don't mind it.
You just don't want to say that you don't like it either.
I don't mind it at all.
Okay.
So for me, it could be that it affects me greatly, that I love the word manifest, that to me, somehow it ignited something in me that was amazing.
Okay.
And it it was a way to understand a concept better than I've ever experienced a concept before that I'd never thought about. It gave me a different word,
Well,
maybe.
see, and that's why the
You, on
word
the other
exists.
hand,
That's why the word exists, and it's okay. But it's when it becomes the catchword that drives me crazy.
so what I'm trying to say is that when we are having a conversation with somebody, it cracks me up that we judge words that people use in order to understand them better, yet we don't use our intuitive nature to understand someone better or recognize that people may use words because it just hit them differently. And I find it super interesting that one word to this person might be a completely different word to this person. And it cracks me up because I feel like, of course, the way that we receive things as human beings is going to be completely different. The way that we experience life is going to be completely different. And yet we sit and we judge single words that people say when language has changed so much over the years. And like, okay, so you may not like manifest. I knew somebody who didn't like the word moist.
Nobody likes the word moist.
Who doesn't like the word moist? Why?
Most people.
Why?
I guarantee you.
Why?
I've heard so many people say they don't like it. Just I think it has a sexual connotation.
Oh. Well, that's it.
I mean,
That's
it all
why.
goes down to that.
Oh.
It,
Well, that's silly.
here's my take on the language thing. Language is a very, very powerful thing.
Language is a very powerful thing when you're
words are very powerful.
correct.
They are the most powerful thing, I think, that humans have. We build all these.
No, I think actions are, yeah.
No.
You think words
because
are more powerful.
actions end. Words go on forever.
Huh.
Look what we're doing. We're our culture, the world in general, is literally following the major religions from thousands of years ago.
Okay.
Those words were written thousands of years ago, whether
Right.
it's Christianity, Buddhism, Judaism, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The actions that those men or women took, let's face it, it was men, because women weren't allowed to write back then. That's a whole nother subject.
Oh boy.
Imagine all the stuff that's missing because women weren't allowed to write.
I know,
it's
right?
kind of boggling.
It is boggling. I mean, think about your life without the woman's touch in it.
Yeah, that doesn't exist.
It doesn't
But anyway,
exist.
what I'm trying to say is what those men did physically died with them, but their words live on. And there's a lot of philosophies on language and how powerful words are. So it's not surprising to me that words can be so divisive.
Mm-hmm.
For me, just in my experience right now, the words that I'm experiencing that are grating on me are the Gen Z's, our kids' generation's words, and they're just stupid. And I recognize the fact that I only think that because I'm an old man and I'm aging.
Yes.
And that's what every old man does. They
Yes.
think the generation after them is going to fall apart and they're, unintelligent. They're not using the right words. And it's because, let's face it, I'm losing my youth and I'm afraid of that.
Yeah.
So my response to that is that I think it's stupid.
Right.
Because I don't understand a lot of it.
But I think you're missing my concept here.
Probably.
I think you're missing my concept.
I'm talking anyway.
Because I think that because what I'm trying to explain is that when you're in conversation with somebody and somebody says, I just hate it when people use the word deconstruct, or I just hate it when the people use the word
nunchucks,
whatever the word is, love, whatever, it doesn't matter. I often go, okay, but why am I having such a feeling towards the words that somebody else might use? and they're using it because it meant something to them. They're using it because for whatever purpose that word meant something to that person. Now we can separate it out because there's obviously, like, in written word versus conversation is very different.
Okay.
Because people will write a lot of things right now that are just like, we've got a lot of bullies out there, and we got a lot of people that write things that aren't true, and we got a lot of people that write things that are ridiculous. But then you've got amazing words written by poets and authors, and even there are good people out there writing good words. I'm strictly talking about this weird concept where we decide that for whatever purpose we don't like a word that because somebody says it about something, we just suddenly don't. We go, oh well, I don't really like that word when people use that. Well, the fact is like, why do I get to judge that?
You don't. I think it definitely says more about the person who didn't say the word than the person who did. Like when I talk, I use words, and I'm not like thinking of every word that I say as like an intentional way to weave this fabric of conversation.
Yeah.
I'm just talking most of the time.
Right.
And a lot of times it's stuff that I don't even really remember that I'm saying.
Right.
Because I'm just rambling. Like I am right now.
Why are you rambling?
Because you're looking at your phone. No, I think, like I said, I think that there are words that trigger people. It brings up thoughts and memories and traumas in people's lives when they hear certain words.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody says, I don't like the word blank, I think it says more about them than the person who's using that word.
Right.
And you're kind of giving away your weakness when you say something like that. Like for me, I'm giving away something when I say I don't like the word manifest. Because I'm telling you I'm weak-minded about people who use that word.
Yeah.
Because of whatever trigger it sets off in me, in my experience.
What I find interesting though is this is just one, it's just one concept, right? It's kind of talking about like having a conversation with somebody and the little judgments that we make within that conversation. Because then there's a whole way that words and ways of speaking can be used as a tool to, sure, understand each other, but it can also be used as a tool to separate yourself from, like, make yourself a clique or make yourself a tribe or make yourself a group that that you don't speak like us or sound like us. Come on, let me teach you these ways.
Did you have that group in school that like had their own language?
For sure, but you had a
Do
big
you remember that? There was a group.
Ethics.
I'm not going to go into
I could totally speak it for you.
Don't do it.
Okay.
Because I don't want to point out these people if they ever listen to this.
I used to speak it.
Okay. Anyway, I remember there were people in school that had like their own language, and to me, it's like there's nothing more exclusive,
right,
than using a made up language
so that people can't know what you're saying.
Can't know what you're saying.
Remember when you were kids, that feeling that you would get when two kids would whisper, and then an adult would kind of look over and be like, "Hey, you guys, whispering isn't kind, when you're around other people."
Yeah. No secrets.
No secrets.
We kind of had that rule.
Yeah, we did
with the kids.
With
no
the kids.
Secrets. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, because
it's rude.
It's rude.
You don't see adults like walking up and like whispering in each other's ears.
Yes, you do.
You shouldn't, because that's not an adult behavior. That's like,
I agree.
That's not an adult behavior.
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about. I'm kind of more so talking about, like, being in a group and like I don't know. I'm really big on like acceptance and unity and making sure that we understand people.
Is it possible that it's not even really the word that gets to them, but it's the fact that they enter the conversation almost looking for something to judge?
Yes.
And that's the thing. Like, to me, if somebody grabs on, and I totally do this 100%, so I the reason I can say this is because I do it and I relate.
Sure.
I'm not actively listening to what you're saying.
Right.
A lot of times when I'm editing this podcast, I'll be listening to it and I'll be going, I didn't remember her saying that because I was too busy. I was too busy thinking about what was next.
And I totally know that you do that.
So I think that like, oops, I think that you have to.
By the way, you hit that first.
Whatever. Active listening is it's not a talent. It's a, what am I looking for?
I don't know.
It's a
skill.
It's a skill. Thank you. I was going to say gift. I got stuck on gift and then I got stuck on talent. It's a skill that you have to develop. Because for me, I want to guide the conversation where I want to take it.
Sure.
But in active listening, you can't guide the conversation. The conversation has to go wherever it wants to go.
Right. It needs to have a flow.
Yeah. Which I have a hard time with, because if I have a really good nugget to say and then like the conversation goes the other direction,
you want it to go back.
I want to bring it back so I can say it. It's so good. But I have learned how to relinquish that nugget.
I don't think you have.
I just did it the other day. I don't remember what it was, but there was a conversation somebody was having with me.
I think that you oftentimes don't listen to me, and I think that you oftentimes want the conversation to go back to a certain thing.
Absolutely, I do. You know what I do now?
Oh, you're getting called.
Yeah, I forgot to put my phone on silent. You know what I do now is I just make a list of all the nuggets that I can't say. And then when I get in my truck at the end of the day, I roll up the windows and I just scream them at the top of my lungs.
No, you do not.
I don't.
No. I was going to say, that doesn't even sound like you. That sounds like too much actual self-help.
Yeah.
Like
or
that's
the opposite. It sounds insane.
No, it only sounds insane to people who haven't done self-help. But when you actually are allowing yourself to use an emotion and you're actually allowing yourself to talk through things, even if it's at the top of your lungs, then that's learning an emotion.
Saying the things that I wasn't able to say throughout the day so that I can say them. That's insane. Right?
You're not really doing that though.
No, but it would be funny if I did.
No, it wouldn't be funny. Speaking of funny and going off on a whole, like, did you ever notice that in Knives Out? So we've been watching a lot of Halloween movies, and like Knives Out is one of them.
We've watched Knives Out a lot this year
with Daniel Craig and
lots of people.
Chris Evans.
I wish Christopher Walken was in that movie.
I didn't say Christopher Walken.
I thought you were going with Christopher Walken, and I thought that would be hilarious.
No.
So I pictured it.
Jamie Lee Curtis is in it. It's really good. But they use words in a very different way, actually.
Do they?
They kind of throw in some lines that would really be cheesy in other movies, but for some reason it kind of works in it, like stupid with 2 O's.
Okay.
They just kind of say things in a different way.
So like, I think what you're saying is he says that is stupid with 2 O's.
Yeah, it's kind of a silly line.
Meaning it's even more stupid than stupid.
Yeah.
I
just think it's kind of a funny line. And Daniel Craig has a lot of funny lines in it too, like that are like unexpectedly. I'm sorry, it's just the author and me talking, like, because I'm like, oh, so people can put in lines like that and like be like, oh yeah, this is made into a full blown movie, and it seems weird.
Oh, there's a lot of lines that are put in movies that shouldn't be.
Well, I think that overall, with the whole goal of my thought process yesterday when I was driving to work and I was thinking about this, I just, you are correct, Ben, when it's about you're coming into a conversation. And what if we always came into a conversation without any rules, without any restrictions, without any preconceived ideas or notions? And we actually were like, okay, so this person, my whole goal this very minute is literally I just want to hear everything they say, and I want to just get to know them, and I want to know their nuances just from listening to them.
Yeah, here we go again. Here
we go again. What does that mean?
You're a diamond in the rough when it comes to this, because I don't believe that most people feel the way that you do about other people.
I don't understand what you mean when you say that.
You really care about people in their lives. I don't find that most people want to
I think you're
communicate.
a liar. I think you totally care about other people in their lives.
I do.
Yes, you do. You majorly do.
No,
I know you do.
I definitely do, but it's not in this way where I'm like analyzing how the conversation is going.
I never analyze how a conversation is going. I flow based on what you were talking about. I flow with it, and I'm listening for like what is making them tick at that moment. And that's I'm not saying I'm perfect at it. I'm not saying I do it all the time. I'm just saying what if we did do that? What if we did do that? Like what if okay, really big. What if we had a whole line of I don't know, let's just go politics, right? Like a whole no, just listen. What if we had a whole line of Democrats and we had a whole line of Republicans?
Really? Are we?
No, listen, listen.
Just and stop. A whole line. Just gonna stop right now.
And a whole line of like independents or a whole line whatever. And like we literally just had a room and every person's whole like idea for being there was to listen and take in and be constructively discussing what is happening.
You're describing heaven. You're describing nirvana.
I am. So why can't we do it?
Because we're human.
Yes. Sure. But we all have the see this is where I think this is the question is are we in like just because we're human does this mean that we cannot reach these?
No, I'm not saying things? At all. I think that there are a subgroup of people like you and me that want to see the world in a better light, that want to help people, that want to communicate effectively, that want to see people succeed.
Yeah.
There is a vast majority of people that are happy to see others go down for them to succeed. And those are the people that are ruining it for everybody else.
Oh, I like
I brought it around full circle, baby.
You brought it around because it is true. It is true that you know,
you think you're sitting in traffic looking around and people are like, oh, would you like to go in? Oh, no, after you. No.
But you know, here's the thing though, is I believe that God, there's so much good that's out in the world.
Sure.
There's so much good.
Sure.
So
yeah, there is.
Okay. So why can't we focus more on that so that we can then try and get to that place?
Once again, you're talking about a subgroup of people that like actively want to better themselves in order to better others' lives. And they'll go to seminars for this. They'll study books.
Correct.
They'll listen to podcasts, apparently, about these things to learn how to make this happen. But that's a very small population of people because they're taking initiative in it versus just responding to things. And I find, at least in our society, there's a lot more response than there is initiative.
Well, I think that's the thing is we are all ego. And when we're in a conversation, our responses are much like knee-jerk reactions and like we take so little time to respond.
We're just kids on a playground.
You know what I've found is people just regurgitate whatever they've heard.
Well, they got nothing better to talk about, I guess.
I'm just saying, like, I hear the same arguments over and over and over again from, people. And I'm like, okay, but okay, I want to see your point, but I can't just hear those arguments. I need to hear it in a different way for you to help me understand your side. And they can't, though. Much of the time, people cannot. They cannot come up with their own mindset on because we're not actively as people trying to dig deeper.
I work in an industry where if you like actively trying to communicate with people is impossible.
I don't believe it is impossible.
Getting them to talk to if they're already heated or whatever, getting them to like have a conversation and talk about it, no, they'll just run, they'll just walk off. They'll just leave.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, this doesn't exist in my world. This like, let's sit down and chat about this.
See, when you say it, that's such judgment on it.
It totally is.
I know. So stop judging that.
That's just not like, unfortunately, certain types of people only respond to black and white. Like it's either this or it's this.
Well, there you have it, folks. This is the way it's going to be, and we can't change it at all. And this podcast isn't going to be about changing it. It's literally just going to be about saying it is what it is, folks.
No, I'm saying that as with most good, it's the small amount of people like you.
It's not small. I'm trying to explain to you. It is not small.
Listen to what I'm saying.
What I think is it's the amount of people that are willing to get out there and say it. Like, I just think that they don't speak as loud because they're trying to create peace.
What I'm saying is there's a small group of people like you who actively seek this out, that put it out into the world to help others. That's what I'm saying. And I'm saying that it's a challenge. But it doesn't mean give up.
Yeah.
I'm just being realistic about it.
It just is hard.
Which is a whole nother catchphrase. I'm not a pessimist, I'm a realist.
Yeah, that was funny when we talked about that a long time ago. Yeah, Ben has always felt like he was a pessimist, and you always call me a dreamer.
Yeah.
And you always say it in a very negative tone.
Well,
but you're like,
only because I don't understand it.
Yeah. Because you don't understand dreaming.
Mm-mm.
Babe.
Yeah. They know that.
They
know that.
All those people that are listening and watching. I just think that, here's the thing. We can close it on this. I think that when we are in conversation with people, I think that language can be used beautifully. I think it can also hit people in different ways. I also believe that it can be used aggressively, obviously. But what's funny is what I guess I'm trying to understand is when we're in conversation with people, we need to start figuring out how to learn from our gut and our intuition about people more than we need to listen to a language that's constantly changing and is just regurgitated through other people. And I'm saying that when you're across the table with somebody, try and is that hard for,
I think it's hard for people.
Yeah.
Like I said, because they can't put aside their own feelings about things.
You're right, though. It is a skill.
Listen.
So I say we go to conversations. We sit at a table with somebody who may not believe the same thing that we believe. We actively listen with the intent of saying, I'm just going to love you no matter what, whatever your belief is, whatever your system is, whatever all of that is. I'm just going to hear you. I'm just going to feel you. And you actively work on listening and feeling this person that's across the table from you.
And then all of our dreams will come true.
Oh my gosh, lame. Sorry, don't mean to get cheesy, I guess. But, it is what it is. So
I would say to take away from this show.
Okay.
Is to learn how to be an active listener.
Yeah.
So in your conversation tomorrow with whoever it is, just listen to what they're saying.
Like, make it a rule.
With no response.
Like, just almost make them weirded out by how much you're trying to listen, right?
Sure.
Like let's have that be a thing. Like, go into a conversation with somebody, not somebody that it's easy to do that with.
Choose the hardest person possible.
Or maybe you should start out baby-wise. But, I think, you sit and you have a conversation.
Because you want to share your thoughts on it. And if you're actively listening, usually you're not sharing your thoughts. You're more like a therapist going, and how does that make you feel?
No, no, not necessarily.
And why did that
See, I think you're taking it to the extreme. So now you're telling people, like, don't do that because it's not actively listening.
I think that's what I need to do. I need to
actively listen,
not put my own thoughts into it.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of them.
know. I do. I do know that. All right, you guys. Well, thanks for listening to our ramblings or not.
Yeah, have a good week.
Yeah, have a great week. We will see you guys next week. Bye.
Later.